listen, you've heard me talk about the Road Home program forever here, as long as I've been back on the radio at WLS. And happy to have in studio nice start, Steve, Reg McCutcheon and his wife, Shana, who are here to talk about it and some very personal experience with it. Reg, how are you?
I'm well, thanks. Thanks for having us on today.
Well, thanks. Nice to see you
have
both.
you
Shana,
both
yes. Not Shana, yes? Am I
Shana.
Shana. That's why I asked.
You were
I figured I
close.
stepped on it.
Very close.
How'd you two meet?
Gosh, through church, I would say we've known each other for many years, met through church, didn't see each other for several years, and then life created an opportunity for us to meet back up in life, and found out we were both single, and I gave her a call one day.
And Shana, if I have this right, well, let me give you a little background here. That might help. Road Home program is a no-cost program to people dealing with PTSD and military sexual trauma as well. Intensive 2-week outpatient situation with people who go to work every day to try to change your life and give you your life back.
Yes, absolutely.
And Reg, you, I understand, really didn't think you needed help or didn't know you needed help. And I think this is a story of many with PTSD.
Well, I'm a therapist myself, so I deal with a lot of veterans, and I found myself absorbing a lot of stuff they were going through, but also have my own issues. Like most dudes, we think we can muscle through it. And, if you're helping other people, why, you're making an impact. Well, life was getting challenging, and I found myself spiraling a little bit, and we were struggling, and, things just came a boiling point. And she gave me an ultimatum, said, get help.
Well, it's funny because one of the things, Shannon, we talk about regularly is for people that love somebody who are going through this, what are you supposed to say? And the Road Home program, folks are good at trying to guide you through it. But for you, it would just have to be draw a line in the sand, I guess, huh?
Yes, absolutely.
And that line in the sand, you didn't know how he'd respond?
I believed that he would. Yes, it was a line in the sand, but also I felt like he had never really been given an opportunity or maybe been with someone before that really wanted him to be the best that he could be. He was out there killing it for everyone else.
Right. And the idea that you're taking care of everybody else doesn't mean you're taking care of you.
Right. I mean, yes. Almost kind of like being a mom.
Yes.
Like,
right.
We have lots of kids, so.
You're doing it for everybody else. You're not taking care of yourself.
Yes.
So you're blessed by this lovely lady here to come into your life, but that doesn't mean it's an automatic. What do you want to say about the Road Home program to connect with people?
So as a therapist myself, I was sending people here and hearing the feedback from folks that had come up, and as a 10-foot tall and bulletproof guy, when you have to make that call for yourself, it changes because you have to get crazy vulnerable. And I remember calling Modi on the phone and saying, Modi,
explain who Modi is.
Yeah, Modi's probably one of their vet support folks, and talked to her many times, or Chris, another support person, and I said, you need to call me back, and it was a choice. As much as Shana said, get help or else, I also had to accept that and choose to get help. But that's where it begins. And as many success stories I'd heard from guys who've been through the program, why it's me sitting in the chair now, and you have to turn everything off, and it made a world of difference and changed our life forever. And not just with our post-traumatic stress, but our relationship as well.
What was it about it? I mean, look, I get the whole macho thing. Guys will do that, but certainly guys who have lived your life. I mean, you're a proud Air Force vet. Yeah. You served America, and you saw some awful things. You, as I understand it, were nearly killed yourself in an accident where a driver hit a roadside incendiary device of some sort. And I know you're just coming off back surgery for that after 20 other surgeries, whatever the number is.
Yeah, a few.
So you've done your time. You've served. Is it you don't want to go back? You don't want to think about those things? Is that the number one block?
Yeah, no, actually, that's the mistake we make. We think if we run from it, that, it'll go away. But it doesn't go away. You have to reconcile it. You have to understand that, we're a small piece in a very, very large, beach. We're a piece of sand. But, that's part of our story. That's part of our journey. And we accept it differently, which is what, I personally had to do. as much as I preach it, with other vets and in therapy way, I had to accept that for myself. But it was having such a secondary effect in the way I thought, the way I was dealing. You always got to be the tough guy. You always got to be this. But in truth, I need to be something different. I may be a veteran, but I'm no longer a warrior. Mm-hmm. And now I'm a citizen. Mm-hmm. And that opportunity just to be citizen is a whole new mindset.
Sure.
Because you're dealing with a world where when we live in tribe, I go to combat to protect the person next to me, the person left and right of me, front and back of me, and they're there for the same thing. But now people cut you off to get a McDonald's one car ahead so they can get their Happy Meal. So that's kind of a whole shift change. So the anger, frustration side of it is it's not tribal. It's not relational. And you just live in that confusion, frustration. And so trying to become citizen is totally different than what we deal with in the military.
I would imagine it's difficult to say, I need help. You have to accept the fact that you may need help because you may want to blame other people for everything. Like you want to blame your spouse. You want to blame your friends. You're blaming your clients or your patients as the therapist. So twofold here. Certainly for people that have PTSD that don't even realize that they're angry, taking it out. It's not my fault. It's your fault. Number one, they have to accept the fact that they need help, and I can't be fixed.
Oh, life's a two-way street. I mean, I have my direction, you have yours, but we have to be able to pass. But it's not personal either. We want to blame everybody for our own shortcomings sometimes, but that's just because our stories or our trauma or, just those roadblocks are things that we have to deal with. But that's my problem. She happens to be on a journey with me, or whoever I meet may be on part of the journey or have input. But in the end, it's my job to do my part, and my part takes courage. It takes as much courage to get on the battlefield as it does to say I need help.
Sure does.
Well, the other thing, too, that I've talked about regularly when we talk about the Road Home Program, roadhomeprogram.org, 312-942-VETS. Not going to cost you anything. Pick up the phone, make the call, and if you love somebody that's going through this and you don't know what to do, say, I don't know what to do. Call and tell them.
Absolutely.
But one of the other things I think that we run into with this is the idea, not just that maybe I can't be fixed or that I don't want to ask for help, is those are big blocks. But to me, the other block is I don't want to look weak to the people who need me to be strong.
What a misconception. Getting help is not weakness. It's actually strength. Like I 100%. Said, same courage. Coming to the Road Home Program was a demarcation point. It was a choice. You will not, the old psychological joke, how many psychiatrists does it change a light bulb? Light bulb has to want to be changed first. That's the truth. You have to want change. If you want to keep living in that cycle of rage or frustration or, whatever that is, then you can live there. But if you want to make a difference in your life and you're tired of the frustration or tired of those things, then you got to reach out for help. Yeah, I'm lucky. I've got a partner that says, or else, but she didn't say it in a mean way. She held me and said, you got to get some help. Yeah. What do we need to do?
Well, and I think there's people right now listening to this who understand that, completely get it. You might be sitting somewhere in a car crying your eyes out thinking about this.
Absolutely.
Because she saw the truth in you. She saw who you were as a man, who you could be as a man, and the blocks you were putting up yourself.
Right. Well, but she knew my effort. She knew what I was trying to do or working towards and, in my own efforts to help veterans, et cetera. But she also saw the toll that it was having on me and the things I wasn't talking about. And again, she opened those doors for communication for me. And that's where partners and family come together. Because PTSD is not just a veteran issue. It's an entire family issue. It's like bringing home the flu. I get it. She'll get it. The dog will get it. The kids will get it. And all of a sudden, everybody's living in this frustration challenge of secondary post-traumatic stress.
We come back from the break. Another thing I'd like you to address, both of you for that matter, is you don't get it. You don't get it. You weren't in Afghanistan. You don't know the life I led. You don't get it. That's something I hear from veterans who have gone through it. They're on the other side of it. They talked about it, but that was ringing in their head all the time.
Yep.
Oh, you're pissed off because I'm pissed off? Well, guess what? You don't get it. I want you to talk to some vets who are dealing with that this morning and talk them off that excuse, if you will. Reg and Shana McCutcheon are here, a couple that has survived PTSD together and separately. Reg will happily tell you we couldn't do it without Shana's support every single day. But Reg, after serving this country proudly, as you did, you now run across veterans all the time that need this kind of help. So let me pick it up where we left off at the break. When you've seen what you've seen, when you've survived, when you've lived through what you lived through, how do you not have an attitude of you don't get it when people are pissed off that you're pissed off?
Well, a great question, Steve. I think that ultimately what we have to recognize is we're just not the only ones. It's part of my story, but here's the issue. This is kind of what we build from. You can either let trauma define you, or you could use it to inform you. And we let it define us. We're always living back and tapping into that little resource and becomes a source of anger, frustration, or, you don't get what I've been through. But what if it's a piece of information that, that's part of my story? And during the break, we were talking, and, you remember when you got on the bike and wrecked for the first time? You skinned your knee or whatever?
Yeah.
Of course.
Maybe, but it's part of riding a bike.
Yeah.
Right.
You're going to skin your knees. You didn't join the military.
You're going to fall down.
You got a wreck. It's not like you didn't ride the bike anymore.
That's right. So in the military, we signed up, that was our oath that we would go do that. Now, I was an old man by the time I went. I was 49 when I went to combat or went to Afghanistan, and I can assure you that, I've been practiced riding a bike a long time, but never wrecked. Now, all of a sudden, I'm out in a place where you can wreck. Well, that's part of riding a bike. So it's part of being in the military. That's there. But we do it because we believe we have a certain set of beliefs, and we're fighting against people who have a different set of beliefs. But in the end, that's what we signed up to be part of. But what if we could just take that and be proud of our privilege, our opportunity? And, I don't wish war on anybody, but in the end, if we go and we do our job, why can't we just be proud we did our job? Yeah, it's not the same. I mean, sitting around a radio station or doing a talk show host is different than being in combat. But I'm sure you're proud of what you've done, as we all should be.
It depends on the show.
Right.
Today, more so. Yeah. Shannon, talk about that from your perspective. It's not always the wife and the husband. It could be the husband is the one sitting in your chair. But to witness what was happening, was it a gradual decline in your relationship that shook you to your core?
Yes. I also thought that he was 6 foot and bulletproof for quite some time. Mm-hmm. That's how I had viewed him all the years that we just knew each other as friends.
Sure.
And always helping other people, always there to encourage, lend a hand.
Easy to fall in love with a guy like that.
Yes, absolutely. And so after we got married, so blended family. Mm-hmm. And he had picked up doing a lot more therapy. And it was really just a gradual process where he was seeing more and more vets, especially, and just people in really difficult situations. We were having some difficulty with some of our kids and their relationship with him and our relationship as a family. And it just things just really started to rub him wrong that I had not seen before. Mm. He was angry, it was kind of like, my way or the highway. And, not all the time. But
you could read it. You could read the road you were on.
But just more and more and more and more. Mm-hmm. And, some crazy things. We had a death in the family, just, stressor upon stressor.
Sure.
And it just became too much for him to bear.
And we should say, the ultimatum as he describes it, I know you don't describe it that way, but the ultimatum as he describes it, that's not going to work for every couple. Well, it's got to work. And I sometimes, and as a therapist, you can tell me if you disagree. Sometimes I equate this with being an alcoholic and being codependent.
Yes.
And that is, you can't love somebody hard enough to get them to fix themselves.
Right.
They have to want to fix themselves.
Absolutely.
That's right. And what you just said about the definition of life, Afghanistan's part of your life story. It's not your life story.
Exactly. That's right. That's the greatest struggle we have is we talk about asking for help, getting help. But if your tribe or if your family or if the people you're near are able to lean into that and have a good conversation, not with your hands on your hips, but, maybe your arms around them, their arms around you, then it changes the whole dynamic of the conversation. But you get to speak into people instead of speaking at people. And that's the struggle with families because guess what the vet's doing? He's speaking, shouting at you all the time.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
And that's part of that journey on the road home. We went over communications, having the term is sticky points, going through our sticky points, things that created struggle in us. And we found that, our rigidity, our military way, get up at the same time every day, go to bed at the same time every day, eat the same food every day. Well, that rigidity becomes part of our struggle. And we live in this rigid space where expectations are met, and when you're retired Lieutenant Colonel way, you have a pretty rigid set of lights and you're used to giving orders, not necessarily taking them, So that changed a few things in our cycle. But in the end, it's me taking off that hat, taking off that stuff that gave her room to speak into me and then soften me up a little bit. But it had to change something. And again, that's where the road home came in.
Yeah.
They just helped me see myself differently. I had to get a little meta to me. So instead of me just always being rigid this way, seeing this myopic view, I had to change it so I could have a different perspective. What she's seeing, what am I seeing, and what's the difference in that?
Yeah, if you're going to invite somebody into your life to love you, you got to play along.
Absolutely.
You got to take their views into account.
What's interesting, too, is you're this lieutenant colonel and you're rigid, and this is my way or the highway. You've got these rules that you follow, and now you're the therapist, and you're helping others, and so there's a set of rules that you're following there as well.
That's right.
Sounds like you discovered your PTSD, or it came out a little bit later. Talk a little bit about vets that have PTSD, how many have it? Does everybody have it? Does it come out later? And
do it in 30 seconds.
In 30 seconds, gotcha.
30 seconds, and then the quick therapies from that happened at the road home.
Yeah, so, the statistics say that 34% of the military, regardless of combat experience, are going to end up with PTSD. But, PTSD is also an indicator of complex PTSD and what happened before you came in the military. 90+% of those that have had childhood sexual abuse, was abused as a child, or lived a pretty hard life are going to experience post-traumatic stress because it's an old friend. It's a thing they're familiar with.
Yeah.
So then you get into all that, and that becomes a whole nother defining set. But we don't even go there because we're going to blame military because, remember, life, those are the things that define me. Right. But they never visit the roots. So the idea is this, a lot of therapy will just kind of top off the weed. But in real therapy, and this is where Road Home come up, we dug it up by the root. Yeah. And fix the root problem so we didn't have the weed anymore. And that was the problem, is we had to overcome the real struggle. And sometimes it goes back decades in your life, and that's what we have to do.
That's so important.
It's roadhomeprogram.org, 312-942-VETS. The important thing for you to hear here is not just what Reg and Shana have been saying. Hopefully you're inspired by them as we are. But also, it's well worth your time to pick up the phone. You want to start with the website? Click on the website. Poke around there for a bit. But know that these folks are going to work every day to give you your life back. That's it. It's not going to cost you money for this 2-week program. It's privately supported and supported by government in other ways. But it's there for you, and you need to take that step. You deserve to have your life back.
So important.
And so do the people that love you. Yeah. So, Reg, I thank you for your service. You are you're an inspiration to all of us, but you couldn't have done it without Shana. And the smartest thing you ever did was realize that.
Amen. I appreciate that. Thank you all so much.
Thank you for coming in.
God bless you both and your family.
You be blessed as well. Thank you.